Hello there, Yakuza desu and welcome to my review of Yakuza 4 Remastered. So, as you can see, I'm dressed inspired in Hana-chan's look. I don't care, Akiyama calls her Hana-chan all the time and she's so cute. I also always call her Hana-chan. But yeah, I will talk about that later. As you can see, I didn't enjoy the character at all. But yeah, let's go by parts. So, in Yakuza 3, we had witnessed Kiryu's story. He was basically retired and we actually were left in a very weird position because we saw Kiryu being assaulted in the middle of the street. And hold that thought, because you will see the man who tried to kill Kiryu in this game also. There's actually a pretty interesting plot around him. And in this game, so it's Yakuza 4, so far we have had Kiryu as the main protagonist, and suddenly, for this game, you have 4 protagonists, because it's Yakuza 4, so you have 4 of them. Well, of course, one of them is Kiryu, but then you are introduced to new characters, which are Akiyama, Saejima, and Tanimura. So yeah, we have a lot of characters to go through, so bear with me. So Kiryu we already know. We start with Akiyama. So Akiyama is this moneylender. He actually has a very interesting story because he was working for a top bank, not sure which one, and basically he was framed for some money laundering, you know, some very shady stuff, but he was basically framed for it. Ended up homeless, and when the tower went boom, you know, the events of Yakuza 1, where the building exploded and there was raining money, Akiyama used that money, of course not all of it, but he basically collected the money that was raining down and used it to put it into a business of his own. So he became a moneylender to try and help people that ended up in situations more or less as his. And he is known as being a really weird moneylender because he charges no interest, and he also does these weird tests to see if people are really willing to go through great lengths to get the money. It's actually really interesting the way he thinks about this. And of course, Akiyama has the same problem as Kiryu, well, even worse, because Kiryu, you know, he really picks them when it comes to girls, but Akiyama is even worse, because he ends up falling in love with a woman that she has a really weird background all around her, and she basically reminds Akiyama of his old flame. It's weird. Hana-chan actually calls his attention to this because as soon as she saw the girl, she knew that Akiyama would basically fall flat for her, and she tries to warn him that this isn't good for him. And of course, we also meet, thanks to Akiyama, we also meet Hana-chan. Hana-chan is his secretary. I don't know if they are friends for longer than the time she's been working for him, but she basically takes care of everything, and she's such an amazing character because going with her to the karaoke and listening to her singing with Akiyama, I mean, Akiyama is a great singer, and then you have Hana-chan, the two voices together, it's just beautiful, beautiful. And she takes care of the business. She's basically his accountant, his secretary. She does a lot of stuff. She even kicks ass because there were some dudes. Akiyama was worried because some dudes raided his office, but Hana-chan took care of that and she handed their asses to them. So Hana-chan is really precious. One thing that I'm kind of disappointed with is that Akiyama and Hana-chan don't really develop their relationship. So you have this plot with Akiyama and this girl that is important to the plot, that, you know, Saejima's sister, and he ends up basically falling in love at first sight, I guess. And Hana is really trying her best, and you can see as the game goes on, Hana is increasingly getting tired of Akiyama's antics, and I think one of the main reasons is because she harbors feelings for him. It's kind of tough to know for sure because she never puts them into words. And she reaches a point where she is, no, you're basically ruining your life for this woman and I'm walking away. I'm not going to see you do this to yourself. And she never returns. And it's actually really interesting because be it because she considers her a very good friend, or because down in his heart he also harbors some kind of feelings, even if they aren't totally romantic. He's really depressed after Hana-chan leaves. Actually, it's really interesting because you aren't even able to access the side quests, because some side quests he will just say, I'm too depressed to do this without Hana-chan in my life. It's really a description that appears in the game. And it's you also have a moment where you are able, it's the before the last chapter I think, where you are able to switch protagonists. And when you switch to Akiyama, you can actually visit the office and go back to a time where Hana-chan was still working for Akiyama. It's basically Akiyama just closing his eyes and imagining Hana is still there. But it's still pretty interesting, and you are able to do the side quest at that point if you hadn't done before she left. And actually, at the end, in the epilogue, Hana-chan returns to the office, and she's really different because she's thinner, she's wearing different clothing, and they have this really touching moment where they are reunited and there's this tension, and then Akiyama decides to offer her food because Hana-chan really likes to eat. And she's even pissed. She says, oh, we were having such a good moment, why did you have to ruin it? But yeah, I think it's a shame because I know that the Yakuza games are very meme, but it's a shame. I don't want the romance to be a focus, but I feel like that they kind of destroy the relationship between Kaoru and Kiryu, and now we are seeing more or less the same pattern with Akiyama and Hana-chan, where their relationship is basically turning into a gag, into more of a joke. And you know, because I think they are good for each other if Akiyama decides to stop being a lady killer and not have bad taste in women in general, you know. But yeah, I really like their interactions, and I feel like it's a shame that their relationship isn't confirmed. Then we get to meet Saejima. This is not the first time we have heard about Saejima, because Saejima is the Kyodai we have heard so much about through the games up until now. So he's Majima's Kyodai. We know that he's been in prison due to that incident where Majima was going to take part, so they were supposed to kill a lot of dudes. What are the reasons? I really don't know, but internal wars within the Yakuza, I guess. And Saejima ended up going alone because Majima was framed. Saejima was also framed because he wasn't supposed to go alone, and he actually didn't kill the dudes. He used rubber bullets, but he didn't know that. And he actually lives haunted by the visions of what he thinks was the murder of a lot of men. He didn't take that lightly. And in prison, he meets the fellow that tried to kill Kiryu, because he's also there due to his being a douchebag to Kiryu. And you can see that at the beginning he's using Saejima to be able to break out of prison, but then he really connects with Saejima. They basically also become brothers, and they help each other escaping from prison. And actually the dude really helps Saejima escaping, almost putting his life in danger for him. And who knows, the dude tells him, hey, you know, if you need anything, just find a fellow called Kazuma Kiryu. And what do you know? He's in a prison in Okinawa that no one knows about, and he ends up washing ashore the beach right in front of the orphanage. And he then is saved by Kiryu, is also helped by Haruka, because Haruka is really, she's growing up, she's taking care of the kids like we have seen in Yakuza 3. And yeah, we have what is a very devising moment for the Yakuza fandom, which is the scene where Saejima accidentally ends up tumbling over Haruka, and people were really awkward, and people were really not, but the scene has a context. I mean, Kiryu is watching what's happening, and he's basically testing, seeing what kind of character Saejima is. I know it's really weird because he's putting his own daughter, because Haruka is basically his daughter at this point, he's putting his own daughter on the line for this, because Saejima could be a really creepy character, but Saejima, of course, is a very nice person, and he steps away, but you have this awkward moment, it's there. But I think it's necessary, especially with all the adult themes that are part of the Yakuza games. It's not only the memes, people, we also have these moments to give not only context and character to the people we are seeing in the story, but it does serve a purpose. And there are very harsh realities when you are trying to more or less convey a real story, even though it has lots of over-the-top moments. One thing that was also really interesting was, at a certain point, another person that appears before Kiryu is Yamazaki, the same guy that tried to kill him. And Haruka takes this really to heart, because it's the first time you see Haruka getting pissed at someone. She's really she cannot forgive this man, because she saw him. We have to remember the end of Yakuza 3, and she witnessed the moment where he attacked and left Kiryu to die. And she can't even forgive Kiryu for ignoring this, or forgiving Yamazaki for what he did, because she cannot forgive him for that. And it's really interesting because Kiryu has a conversation with her about, but you have seen a lot of these guys, Yakuza, and they go in and out of the orphanage. They have done terrible things, stealing, murdering people. And she says that this is different because she saw it happening. She had to face the possibility of losing him, because he's like a father to her, and she cannot forgive him. At the end, we actually see Yamazaki being redeemed, because he actually tries his best to protect Kiryu, and he ends up dying from that. And Haruka sees that people can change. I do agree with Haruka. I think her reaction was normal, and I know why she was pissed even at Kiryu, because, this dude is forgiving someone that really tried to kill him and could have succeeded. But Kiryu is Kiryu, he just forgives everyone. I mean, he gets a good punch in, and everything's right with the world once again. And we also have Tanimura. So Tanimura is very different because he's a policeman slash detective. He's also connected to the Korean part. I think it was that, the Korean part. Yeah, I was going to say the Korean mob because there's also that, but not really. And you have a very interesting plot for this game, because you would find out that the police are actually controlling the organized crime and Yakuza in the city, having deals with them, so they can have a kind of a monopoly over what is happening. So the police need the crimes to happen, but not in a way that is out of control. But you cannot also take away the crimes, because then the police become useless. And you have this interesting plot where the police are actually the bad guys, and at the end, of course, each of the characters has Oh, by the way, the woman that Akiyama ends up falling in love is actually Saejima's sister. What are the odds, right? Of course, all the stories have to connect, so they end up having the same goals. And each character will have their own boss fight, their own villain. So you have Kido. Kido he seems like this kind of goofy-ass gangster that is trying to join the Yakuza, but then he's on the police side and he's trying to just you know, keep Akiyama's money because he has a lot of money in a vault that is really not protected, that has no security at all. And I really don't know at this point what was actually his purpose. I mean, he wanted power and money, I guess. Then you have Arai, who's sometime on the Yakuza side, but then he's working for the police, but then he's on the Yakuza again, and then he has his own agenda and wants to have his own family. I don't know. So you have Arai. He's really... Both of these characters are more connected to Akiyama than anything else. And you have Daigo. Daigo was basically being pressured by the police, but you end up fighting him like he's a bad guy, but he didn't really have any other choice unless he wanted to risk Tojo clan dismantling. Then again, this is the 4th time that the Tojo clan is in risk of dismantling. I don't know how the hell this clan is still on its feet. I really question. Of course, Daigo is Kiryu's boss fight. Kido is Saejima's, because Saejima ends up creating a very strong friendship with Kido. Akiyama fights Arai, and of course Tanimura ends up fighting the chief of police. And let me tell you, that fight was a pain in the ass, because on top of fighting the dude, I mean, the chief of police wasn't really the problem, but he called a lot of policemen and special forces that were really tough to take down. Jesus. And of course, each character has a different style. So Saejima is really similar to Kiryu's beast style. Kiryu is fighting in more of a Dragon of Dojima kind of style, so more balance. And then you have Akiyama, who fights mainly with his legs. Yeah, it's just kicks mostly. And Tanimura, I don't remember him fighting only with his fists. I think he was more or less balanced, but I think he was more focused on the upper part. So you have these different fighting styles that you are able to try. The gameplay, there's not much new, so it's the same gameplay you have experienced with previous game, especially with Yakuza 3. I think, yeah, it's on the same line, the difficulty of the grind, of the bosses, it's more or less on the same line. You have the mini games that we all appreciate, the possibility of going to karaoke with the different characters, except for Saejima. I don't remember, I think I wasn't able to visit karaoke not even once. And then they have different ways to go about the revelations. I mean, Saejima sculpts bears out of trunks. That was really weird, but it was fun nonetheless. So this is a very solid game. I did enjoy the experience. Exploring 4 different protagonists was really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to see what they will do next, because Kiryu is always going in and out of retirement. The dude can't retire, really. Nobody lets him. People just go to him and say, oh, you know, Tojo clan is falling apart again, and he comes once again to try and save the Tojo clan. But the game is really fun. Like I said, there's not much to say because there's not really innovations. The big innovation is the different fighting styles applied to the different characters. And that's it. I did enjoy the story. I think it's a different take from the story we have seen so far. And I did enjoy getting to know the new characters and playing with them. So I hope you enjoyed this review. If you have any other thoughts on this game, please share them down below if you think I missed something. And if you like this content, please like the video, subscribe. For more gaming content, you can always check my Twitch channel. And I hope to see you next time. So may music always be your life force. Bye bye!